rolls were almost done. I remember that because the timer on the oven had 2 minutes left, and I was pulling the good china from the hutch when the whole evening started to unravel. Thanksgiving 2023. I've been looking forward to it for weeks, maybe longer. When you're 67 and you live alone in a 4-bedroom colonial that used to hold a whole family, holidays are the only time the place feels like it's supposed to. My name is Henry Aldrich. I've lived in the same house in Dayton, Ohio for 39 years. My wife, Jeannie, passed in 2019 from pancreatic cancer. 4 months from diagnosis to funeral. After that, every holiday became a negotiation with silence. But I kept doing them. Thanksgiving, Christmas, the 4th. I kept cooking, kept setting the table for more than one because that's what Jeannie would have done. And because my granddaughter, Abby, loved coming over. Abby was 9 that year, sharp as a tack, the kind of kid who noticed everything and said most of it. She'd walk into a room and tell you your shoelaces didn't match, or that the painting above the mantel was crooked by an inch. Her mother, my daughter Denise, used to say Abby had no filter. I always thought she just had good eyes. Denise arrived around 2 that afternoon. She brought a sweet potato casserole and a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my electric bill. She'd been doing well for herself. Corporate paralegal at a firm downtown. Drove a white Lexus. New nails every 2 weeks. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Daddy, the house looks beautiful." It did. I'd spent 2 days cleaning. Vacuumed the curtains, polished the banister, even put out the little ceramic turkey salt and pepper shakers that Johnny bought at a craft fair in 1998. I wanted everything right. Abby ran in behind her, backpack bouncing, and threw her arms around my waist. "Grandpa, I brought my drawing pad. Can I draw the turkey before we eat it?" "You can draw whatever you want, sweetheart." Denise's boyfriend showed up about 20 minutes later. Craig Messner, 44, financial planner. He'd been in the picture for about 1.5 years, and I'll be honest, I never warmed to him. Not because he was unkind, he was polite enough. Firm handshake, always brought something. But there was a smoothness to him that made me uneasy, like he'd rehearsed every sentence before it left his mouth. "Henry, good to see you. The yard looks great for November." "Thanks, Craig. Come on in." The neighbors came by early. Hank and Judy Palmer had been next door for 22 years. They brought a green bean casserole and a pecan pie. The Washingtons from across the street dropped off a plate of deviled eggs and stayed for a drink. By 4 o'clock, the house was full of noise and warmth, and for the first time in a while, it didn't feel so big. We ate at 5. Turkey came out perfect. I used Jeannie's brine recipe, the one she'd clicked from a magazine in 2004, and taped inside the cabinet door. Abby said grace. She thanked God for the food, for Grandpa's house, and for her new shoes, which were purple with silver stars on the sides. Everyone laughed. That was the last easy moment of the night. Around 6:15, the dishes were mostly cleared. Judy and Hank had gone home. The Washingtons left a little before that. It was just Denise, Craig, Abby and me. Abby was on the living room floor with her drawing pad. I was wrapping leftovers in the kitchen. Denise said she needed to step out to the garage to grab something from a car. "I think I left Abby's overnight bag in the trunk," she said. "All right." Craig followed her. I didn't think anything of it. The garage is attached to the house, through the mudroom off the kitchen. The door doesn't latch properly, hasn't for years. It swings if you don't pull it tight. I made a mental note to fix it. Again. About 30 seconds later, Abby got up from the floor and padded into the kitchen. "Where'd Mom go?" "Garage. Getting your bag." She walked toward the mudroom. "I was rinsing a casserole dish and didn't watch her go." Maybe 2 minutes passed, maybe 3. Then I heard her shoes on the kitchen tile, fast, and when I turned around, she was standing in the doorway with her face bone white and her hands balled up at her sides. "Grandpa? What's wrong? We need to go. Right now. We need to leave." I set the dish down, dried my hands on the towel, walked over and knelt so I was at her level. Her lip was trembling, not crying. Something past crying. "Abby, tell me what happened." "I heard Mum and Craig talking. They were in the car. The windows were down. They didn't see me. What were they saying? She swallowed hard. They didn't see me. What were they saying? She swallowed hard. Her eyes were glassy and fixed on mine like she was looking for something solid to hold on to. Craig said you're getting old and you can't take care of yourself. He said they need to file something at the courthouse. Mom said once the paperwork goes through, they'd have control of everything. The house, the savings, everything. Craig said they could sell this house and put you in a home and you wouldn't be able to stop it. I didn't move for a long time. I stayed right there on one knee with my hand on her shoulder, and I felt something in my chest go cold and still like a pilot light clicking off. Are you sure that's what they said? Yes. Craig said the word guardianship. He said once they get it, you can't make your own decisions anymore. Mum said she already talked to a lawyer. Guardianship. I knew the word. I'd seen a segment on the local news a few years back. Families petitioning a court to take legal control of an elderly parent, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes not. The court's an evaluator, there's a hearing, and if the judge agrees, you lose the right to manage your own finances, your own medical care, your own life. I'd watched that news segment and thought, what kind of person does that to their own parent? Now my daughter's name was attached to the answer. I stood up. My knees cracked. I looked toward the mudroom door and I could hear their voices, muffled, still out in the garage. Abby, go upstairs to the guest room. Take your drawing pad. Lock the door and stay there until I come get you. Grandpa, I'm scared. I know, baby. I'll fix this. Go on now. She went. I heard her feet on the stairs, quick and light, and the guest room door click shut. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened a junk drawer by the phone and pulled out a small digital recorder. Jeannie had bought it for me years ago so I could dictate notes when I was working in the shop. I hit record, slipped it into my shirt pocket, and walked toward the garage. They were sitting in the back seat of Denise's Lexus. The garage light was on. The car doors were open, and Craig had a manila folder on his lap. I could see papers. Denise was scrolling through her phone. I stepped through the mudroom door and said, "What's in the folder, Craig?" They both looked up. Denise moved first. She stood out of the car and smiled, but it was wrong. Too wide, too fast. Daddy, we were just going over some financial stuff. Craig's been helping me reorganize my portfolio in my garage on Thanksgiving. Craig closed the folder, stood up, straightened his jacket. Henry, it's nothing to worry about, just some year-end planning. Is that right? I looked at Denise, because Abby heard something different. The color drained from Denise's face. Not slowly, all at once, like someone pulled a plug. What did she hear? Craig asked. Enough. She heard enough. Denise stepped toward me. Daddy, whatever Abby told you, she's 9. She misunderstood. She understood the word guardianship just fine. Silence. The garage was cold. I could see my breath. The fluorescent light hummed above us, that low electrical hum that makes everything feel like an interrogation. Craig looked at Denise. Denise looked at the floor. Daddy, let's go inside and talk about this. We're talking about it right here, right now. What's in the folder? Craig exhaled through his nose. Then he did something I didn't expect. He opened the folder and held it out to me. Like he was daring me to look. I took it. Inside were printed forms from the Montgomery County Probate Court, a petition for guardianship of an allegedly incompetent adult. My name was on the first page. Henry L. Aldrich. Date of birth, social security number, home address. Attached was a letter from a doctor, Richard Pratt, a physician I'd never met, stating concerns about cognitive decline and inability to manage daily affairs. I read it twice. Then I looked at my daughter. I've never seen this doctor. Daddy, I've never been evaluated by anyone. My doctor is Bhavna Kapoor, and she'll tell you my mind is fine. Who is Richard Pratt? Craig cleared his throat. He's a colleague of mine, a consulting physician who provides assessments for people who need a rubber stamp. Henry, that's not fair. Not fair? I held the folder up. You're trying to take my home, my savings, my ability to make my own decisions. You forged a medical opinion from a doctor I've never met, and you did it on Thanksgiving while my granddaughter was drawing turkeys on my living room floor. Don't talk to me about fair." Denise was crying now. Not the kind of crying that makes you feel sorry for someone. The kind that happens when you've been caught and you don't have a next move. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and said, "You don't understand. Craig and I need the money. His practice is underwater. We owe the IRS almost $200,000. If we don't settle by March, he's going to lose his license and we're both going to be audited." $200,000. I let that number sit in the air. "So you were going to have me declared incompetent, sell this house, liquidate Jeannie's IRAs and my pension, and put me in some facility. It wouldn't have been like that. What would it have been like, Denise? Tell me. What does it look like when your daughter steals your life?" She didn't answer. I tucked the folder under my arm. "I'm keeping these. I'm calling my lawyer first thing Monday, and I want you both out of my house in the next 5 minutes." Craig stepped forward. "Henry, let's not do anything rash. We can work this out. You're standing in my garage with a forged medical evaluation and a petition to strip me of my civil rights. There's nothing to work out. Get out." He put his hand on my arm, not hard, but firm, like he was going to steer me somewhere. I pulled away. "Don't touch me." "Craig, stop," Denise said. "Denise, if we leave now, this whole thing falls apart." "It already fell apart," I said. "The second your 9-year-old daughter had more decency than both of you combined." I walked back into the house, closed the mudroom door, locked it. Then I went to the kitchen phone and called Stan Morrow, my friend of 40 years and the only lawyer I've ever trusted. He answered on the third ring. I told him everything. He said, "Don't let them take those documents. I'll file an emergency motion Monday morning." "And Henry? You might want to call the police." I did. Non-emergency line. Told the dispatcher I had 2 people in my garage refusing to leave after being asked. A cruiser came in about 12 minutes. 2 officers. Young, professional. They talked to Craig and Denise in the driveway. Craig tried the calm, professional routine. Called it a family misunderstanding. One of the officers came inside and asked if I felt safe. "I feel safe now," I said. They escorted Craig and Denise to their car. Denise tried to come back in for Abby, but I told the officer that Abby was spending the night with me and Denise could contact my lawyer in the morning. Denise stood at the end of the driveway and screamed my name twice. Then Craig pulled her into the car and they drove away. I locked the front door, checked the back door, checked every window on the first floor. Then I went upstairs and knocked on the guest room door. "Abby, it's Grandpa. Open up." The lock clicked. She opened the door with her drawing pad clutched to her chest. Her eyes were red but dry. "Is Mom gone?" "She's gone." "Is she in trouble?" I picked her up. She was almost too big for it, but I held her anyway. "Nobody's in trouble tonight. Tonight you and I are going to have some leftover pie and watch whatever you want on TV. Okay?" "Okay." We sat on the couch with pecan pie and milk and watched a nature documentary about otters. She fell asleep against my shoulder around 8:30. I carried her to the guest bed, pulled the quilt up to her chin, and sat in the chair by the window for a long time watching the street. Monday came fast. Stan filed the emergency motion. He also reported the fraudulent medical evaluation to the Ohio State Medical Board. Dr. Batiriad, Richard Pratt, it turned out, had signed similar evaluations for 6 other families, all connected to Craig Messner's financial planning clients. People in their 70s and 80s whose children or caregivers had petitioned for guardianship using assessments from a doctor who never examined them. Craig had been running this scheme for at least 3 years. Families across Montgomery and Greene counties, elderly people who lost their homes, their savings, their independence, all because someone they trusted signed a piece of paper. The investigation moved fast after that. The county prosecutor's office opened a case within 2 weeks. Craig was charged with fraud, elder abuse, and conspiracy. Denise was charged as a co-conspirator. She tried to cooperate, gave a statement, said Craig had pressured her into it. Maybe he did, I don't know. What I know is that she sat in my garage with a folder full of lies and didn't flinch until her daughter called her on it. The trial was in June. I sat in the third row of courtroom B in the Montgomery County Common Pleas Courthouse. Craig wore a grey suit and a red tie and looked like every financial seminar host you've ever seen on a hotel billboard. His attorney argued that guardianship petitions are civil matters and that filing one doesn't constitute criminal intent. The prosecutor showed the folder, showed the forged evaluation, showed the pattern across 6 families. 2 of those families testified. An 81-year-old man named Donald Huang sat on the stand and described how Craig's scheme had cost him his house, his car, and 3 years of his life in a facility he didn't need to be in. His voice was steady the whole time. That steadiness was louder than any outburst could have been. Craig was found guilty on all counts. Sentenced to 8 to 12 years. Denise pleaded guilty to a reduced charge. She got 18 months and 3 years of probation. She served 11 months at the Dayton Correctional Institution. Abby stayed with me through all of it. Denise's sister, my younger daughter Patrice, helped out when she could, but Abby didn't want to leave my house. She said it felt safe. I enrolled her in the school 2 blocks over. She made friends fast. By Christmas, she had 3 drawings taped to the fridge and a reading level 2 grades ahead. Denise got out in October the following year. She called me from a halfway house in Columbus. I let it ring twice before I answered. She said she was sorry. I told her I believed her. I also told her that trust, once it's gone, doesn't come back on a schedule. She cried. I let her. She sees Abby now. Supervised, at first, then regular visits. Abby is careful with her. Not cold but measured, the way a kid gets when they've learned that love doesn't automatically mean safety. I still live in the house. The furnace runs fine. The garage door still doesn't latch right. I fixed the mudroom door though. Got a proper deadbolt. Jeannie's brine recipe is still taped inside the cabinet. Abby is 12 now and she doesn't draw turkeys anymore. She draws portraits. Last week she drew one of me sitting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee and she got the lines around my eyes exactly right. I told her it was the best thing anyone ever gave me. People ask me sometimes if I saw the signs, if I should have known about Denise, about Craig. I think about that a lot, especially at night, when the house gets quiet and the only sound is the furnace cycling on. The truth is I didn't see it, because I wasn't looking. You don't look for betrayal in your own daughter's face. You look for the girl who used to ride on your shoulders at the county fair. You look for the teenager who cried when her cat died, and the young woman who called you every Sunday from college just to hear your voice. You look for the person you raised and you assume that person is still there. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they come back. But sometimes the distance between who they were and who they became is a distance you can't cross, no matter how far you're willing to walk. What I learned is this. Love your family. Love them completely. But love without discernment is just exposure. Pay attention to the people around you. And when a child tells you something is wrong, believe them. Abby saved my life that Thanksgiving, not from a bullet or a fire, from something quieter and in some ways worse. She saved me from disappearing inside a system designed to erase me, one signature at a time. If you're watching this and you're over 60 and someone in your family has started talking about your care or your future in ways that feel like planning without your input, pay attention. Ask questions, talk to your own lawyer, not theirs. And if your grandchild ever comes to you with fear in their eyes, stop what you're doing and listen. Because sometimes the people who see the clearest are the ones who haven't yet learned to look away.